Hello everybody, Northwest Saws here, and this is part 2 of the Homelite 775D chainsaw. And in this video we're going to go over the overhaul for this thing, and I'll show you a few of the new old stock parts that I got in. And since this stuff is right in front of us here, I'll show you what we got here. This is the old needle bearing and the old oil seal off the flywheel side backing plate. There's the new ones right there. I didn't have any trouble finding these. I got them pretty quickly. I'll show you some of the damage here. The bearing, the old bearing, was not too bad. But this oil seal, on the other hand, there we go, is it's pretty bad. You can kind of see some of that deterioration there. No wonder this wouldn't hold a vacuum before. It's awful. We got our new ones here. Good to go. The main bearing, this is actually the old one. But the new one, I had to wait a little bit longer to find it. There's a bunch of the gear drive model main bearings available, but not the direct drive. But I found one, and it's actually it's already pressed in here. You can kind of see it there with our couple of our special screws and washers. Those are also new, which is a really good idea to use new ones when you're doing this kind of work. Not always easy to get a hold of though with these older saws. But it's pressed in with the snap ring on there, and the new sealing gasket is also in there. That was the sealing gasket was pretty easy to find, although it was probably the last one. So you're welcome to anybody who's trying to find one of these. There's the old one. It's also got a significant amount of deterioration, and it's super brittle. And there's the box that the old one came in. So now that this is pressed in, we'll get the connecting rod put back on with all the needle rollers and get the piston and the cylinder fitted and get our backing plate with our new bearing and oil seal on there, and we're going to be really doing good after that. We've got our new backing plate gasket right here. I'll show you a couple other things that I got in. I got a new old stock clutch drum kit for this. And this is pretty slick. It's got the new bearing already pressed into the drum here with our 404 sprocket and our washer. Oh yeah, I scored a good one here. I've also got a new fuel filter, the fuel line and return spring from the governor arm to the throttle linkage on the carburetor. We've got a couple other gaskets back there for the air filter and whatnot. And also, I was able to find, this is the old inlet off the fuel tank. I was able to find, eventually, a new old stock one, and it's in the mail now. This is probably the hardest one to get, and it's kind of an oddball piece. And that fits into this little hole right here on the gas tank. But I finally found one. It took a while, but I got it. It's in the mail. So we'll get the heavy lifting done on this thing, and then we're really going to be set. Hopefully by the time I get all this done, our new inlet will be in. We can seal that tank up, and we're really going to be cooking with gas. Alright, so here's where we're at now. Got the piston and the connecting rod hooked back up. That's a new old stock connecting rod and piston pin bearing. The old bearing had some use, and the old rod actually had a little teeny tiny bend to it. So we were able to find this new old stock set off of eBay. It's on there, tightened up, and good to go. And again, we've got these new old stock rings on the piston. Piston is in decent shape. Side clearance on it in the cylinder wall was still surprisingly minimal, so we're going to reuse them. And the cylinder turned out really well. Cleaned up very well. All that crap off the roof is gone. The bore is really good. No chips, dings. And all that transfer that was initially there is gone now. So we'll get that cylinder put back on here. We've got a new old stock cylinder gasket. And as soon as that's on, we can start moving on to getting the backing plate put back on. We've got that new old stock gasket for here. I was able to find a new old stock oil seal and bearing for this flywheel side. I just got them pressed in. They're good to go, and so as soon as the cylinder is on, we can put that backing plate on, and then we're going to be looking pretty good. So well, let's get that cylinder on there. Okay, so we've got it cleaned up a little bit more. I've got this ground wire repaired. Not so much the ground wire, but a new terminal on the ground wire. And got our new condenser in place, tightened up and connected. And I know you might be saying, that looks a little bit different. And yes, it is. This is the old one. And that's quite the difference. This is a little bit smaller. But trust me, it is the correct part. Part numbers are the same. They're just a little bit different on the replacement part there. But it is alright. Got the coil cleaned up some. It's looking fine. No cracks. A little bit of scuffing right here, but not too bad. We've got everything tightened back down. And I've got the gaps set, but we will check this one more time just to make sure. So this is crankshaft has been turned, so the breaker is going to be at its farthest point, or at the highest point on the lobe of that crankshaft. And so we're just going to double check. This is 0.015. So it's not going in there super easy. A little bit of resistance. It's not super loose either. Honestly, that's good. That's perfect. And we'll just leave it like that. So let's see here. We can find the other little covers. We've got this little felt cover that we got to put on. Just got to put that back right back over the top here. Oh, we probably could get some of that gunk off first. So yeah, we'll get some of the gunk off of here. Oof, that's bright. We'll cover back on, get this clamp back down, and then get our flywheel put back on, get everything tightened up, do a little bit more cleaning, and then we'll move on to... Okay, and we are done. I know there's kind of a big gap between the last bit of progress and now, but I figured this video has probably gone on long enough already, so I'll just cut to the chase and do a quick recap of what I did here. So inside we've got two new old stock crank bearings, new flywheel seal, and clutch side sealing gasket. The connecting rod is new old stock with a new old stock wrist pin bearing. The piston and cylinder are original. They just got cleaned up and they are in good enough shape. New old stock set of rings. And after that, this muffler, or I guess you could call it a muffler. It's just more of a cap, really. Both of these screw holes, the top and the bottom one, were stripped out, which is, from what I understand, pretty common for these saws. I didn't have the right size standard tap, so I just used a metric one that I use for steel saws a lot. And so I got a couple oddball screws here, but whatever, because it works. Polish the exhaust port. And bring it over to the starter side. We got a new old stock rewind spring in here. The ratchet ball drive on the inside here is in really good shape. I probably should replace this pull cord at some point, but it still has the original Homelite handle. I thought it was kind of cool. And I am going to have to deal with this at some point here pretty soon, because this is some pretty bad mag rot here. I'm just lucky that it was this stuff right here was where the air filter sits and not where the main chamber of the tank is, where the gas sits. So I'm lucked out a little bit there. Did take apart the gas tank, got a new gasket in there, some Durco, got it sealed back up, does not leak. New gas line and filter in here. A new fitting that goes up into the tank, new fuel line, put a kit in the carburetor. Every single gasket on this thing is new. And something I did not show in the other videos, I actually took this oil tank off because it was leaking on the underside here. That gasket had eroded a little bit, and so we've got a new gasket made for it. Some Durco sealed that up. It does not leak anymore. And this oiler also did not work previously. And the reason for that, there's a little spring and ball and check valve in here. And while the check valve was okay, the spring was completely shot. It was seriously messed up. I'm not really sure how the hell it got to be like that, but there's a new old stock spring in there now, and new check valve with a new oil line feeding to the filter. And in here, the O-ring on the plunger was also shot, so I've replaced that, and now it works. Works really well, in fact. Let's see, what else am I forgetting? A new clutch drum assembly with the bearing and thrust washer. Excuse me. Yeah, I think that's about it. Just did a hell of a lot of cleaning. This thing was filthy. It's been used for logging in the Pacific Northwest for most of its life, and so it got used and abused. So it's definitely not perfect. It's ugly as hell, but it runs. So with that, I'll put this camera down and fire it up so you folks can listen to it. So, there you have it. It's tuned a little bit on the rich side, as you can see. Quite a bit of smoke, and then partly from putting some extra oil in there. I do that on every new overhaul. So, next step is to put a bar on this thing and put it to some wood. But, like I said, this video has gone on long enough already, so we'll just cut it short and make another video. Thanks for hanging with me there and checking this out.